Hey y'all, thank you for joining me for this story time. My name is Keita. If it's your first time joining me, welcome. And if you are a returning viewer, welcome back. It's really not a particular story that I want to share as much as it is a common theme that's been coming up that I've been being intuitively led to come down here to these YouTube streets and talk to y'all about. And it's primarily centered around being discerning about who and what you're giving your time and energy to, and especially being mindful of leaving people in the land of Delulu, because it may not sound ideal, but the truth of the matter is, and it proves itself time and time again, that there are people who actually want to live, are applying for and or have been approved for permanent citizenship in the land of Delulu. And you gotta let them. And that's not easy. It's not easy at all, especially if you're a light worker. I think for a lot of people who tapped into their gifts and talents, who know that they have a purpose in this life and got better shit to do, bigger fish to fry, other shit to tend to, especially if you're empathic, we desire to help people. We ultimately come from a pure place in sharing the truth and the light and wisdom and our gifts and talents with people. Do not sleep on the fact that the advice that you give or the truths that you share, your perspective on things, your time, your listening ear, your energy is a healing tool within itself. You ain't got to pull out a card. You ain't got to pull out a sound bowl. You ain't got to do no Reiki, none of that. You don't need no divination tools when you just operate in pure love and light. And sometimes people will underestimate that within you, but don't you underestimate it in yourself, because it's your responsibility to be a steward of your energy, of your gifts, of your love, of your time. And in doing so, sometimes, as painful as it can be, you gotta leave people in the land of Delulu. Which led me down that thought, constantly circling back to that thought by way of different conversations with people and doing my own shadow work, led me down this rabbit hole of exploring the difference between illusion and delusion. And they are two things that are commonly intertwined and used, two terms, two concepts that are used often in place of another, but they mean two different things, right? So I got some notes I'm gonna be sharing with y'all, and then I've decided I'm gonna pull some cards. Illusion, it's a perceptual error. Oftentimes when there's illusion present, there's one stimuli in front of you that you perceive to be another. And you may perceive it to be another because of the way the lighting is set up, the way the story was presented to you. Some things, there's too much or not enough of something that makes one particular something appear to be something else. It's perceptual, right? It's a matter of perception. So illusion is mistaken perception, but it's correctable. And it could be corrected by there being a willingness to see things from a different perspective, a willingness to have more light shed on something, or to take away certain factors or stimuli in the situation in order to see the truth. So, like, let's say if you in the midst of something and you're confused, and then you take away, you decide, okay, I'm confused about what's going on in this situation. I need to take away all the outside noise and opinions and stimulus or stimuli, and just go within and study my own, or pay attention to my own thoughts, my own feelings. What do I want, right? Then you're able to get clear. You're able to get clarity from that rest, from that seclusion, when you take away the other things that were contributing to the confusion and illusion. But there has to be a willingness to see things from a different perspective. But sometimes that willingness is not always there. And that is where I am finding that the Delulu comes into play. That's where the confusion comes in. Because where illusion is mistaken perception, delusion is mistaken belief. When you refuse to see things from a different perspective, from a higher perspective, then that's settling into delusion. You've made it a belief when you refuse to see it a different way. And we often see that in Christianity. There's a lot of delulu amongst devout, church-going, staunch, Bible-thumping Christians. Now, let me just say, not that it really matters because it ain't nobody's business but mine, I believe in Christ. I believe in Christ consciousness. I believe that there was a man who walked this earth possibly named Jesus Christ, right? But I don't believe all of the story and all of the details, and I became open to looking at things from a different perspective a long time ago, which led me to taking some time to search my heart, to really see what resonates with me, and also research. Because I was open to a different perspective, I was open to the fact that, hey, the narrative that my the slave owners and my oppressors have given to me may have been created according to their own agenda and not one that benefits me. Let me look into that. Let me look into the things that they told me not to, because if they told me not to and they wanted to disempower me, my power is probably in those places where they told me not to look, right? And I'm just using religion, Christianity, all of that as an example, because Christianity ain't the only religion, right? It ain't the only religion where there's some delulu. There are hundreds of religions across the globe, right? But I'm just using that as an example. There can be delulu in every area of your life. You can be financially delulu. Hell, I've been financially delulu. The thing about it is, though, is not deciding to stay there. Like, I've been a visitor, but I don't want citizenship in the land of delulu. And so it behooves us to be mindful of people who do, who show you that they do. When they do, you let their ass. Let it go. Leave them there. And if you've imparted some knowledge or some wisdom, some example that you've set, then trust that if it was meant to touch their heart, if it was meant to penetrate their mind and their consciousness in a way that will shift their willingness to perceive things differently and see the truth of the matter, that it will, but without any more of your input, because by that time you done gave enough, and enough is up to you. Enough is not up to anybody else to gauge. Whatever you deem is enough for you is the boundary. You don't allow other people to tell you what's enough in terms of your contribution to them getting out of the land of Delulu. I remember living in the land of Delulu in a relationship. It wasn't illusion. It was mistaken belief. I believed that if I embodied a spirit of long suffering in this relationship, that was the key to longevity and happiness, and that eventually all of this suffering that I had endured in that relationship would turn into a strong bond between me and this asshole. And I look back on the people who contributed to, like, I take a full accountability for where I was in the land of Delulu and decided to stay there. But I also had people around me who were in support of me being in the land of Delulu, because they were in the land of Delulu. And me challenging that in any way meant they had to look at their situation and see where they were living in the land of Delulu and own it, right? And don't nobody want to do that. So then, yeah, let me support you being over there in a situation that screams you don't love yourself. You don't hold yourself in high regard. You don't have a higher standard for yourself. Mirroring is very important. So we need to be mindful of when it comes to people being and wanting to be in the land of Delulu. What does that mirror to you? What is it that you're trying to mirror to them that they refuse to see? That is important. But yeah, delusion, an error in belief and thought. And it's a resistance to reasoning. So oftentimes when people want to live in the land of Delulu, a sure sign of that is their defensiveness. They're going to defend some stupid shit to you. And honestly, sometimes, like, people don't know what they don't know, right? And they don't see from the same lens that you do, because they have not had the experience that you've had. But I am bringing this to you all as a collective because I want people to understand that it is not your job to be a martyr when you're trying to share your light and your gifts and your love with people. When they show you that they cool with the ignorance, they cool with not knowing, they don't want to know the truth, or they know the truth and don't want to acknowledge the truth, and then they defend the lie, you let their ass. So be mindful of when you're imparting knowledge and wisdom and people are defensive towards you for sharing the truth, and they defend whatever the fuck shit is or the lie. Because that is a surefire sign that, hey, I'm comfortable over here in the land of Delulu. I have unpacked my bags. I have folded up my drawers and put them in a drawer. And I know it's fucked up, but something about it benefits me, and I'm comfortable with this level of chaos. And so I'm going to stay here a while, maybe forever. Let them. Because you're going to wear yourself out trying to get somebody to shift from a level of consciousness that they've grown comfortable in and don't want to leave. If they want to shift, grow, expand, evolve, elevate, awaken, cool. That's what you're there for, to be of assistance in some way, to shine your light, even if it's just by your example. But if they don't want it, you can even take your example away. You know what I'm saying? Because that's a gift. Don't let people sleep on your gifts. And the way that you stop letting people sleep on your gifts is by you valuing and acknowledging your gifts. Make them hard to reach. Illusion. An example of illusion is seeing a rope in a dark or dim lit room and thinking that it's a snake. The stimuli there is the rope. It appears to be a snake, but when you shine more light on it, you'll see it's not a snake at all. It's rope. There was nothing to fear. But delusion, on the other hand, is more like when somebody tells you a story. They tell you their story, they tell themselves their story, they tell other people this story about their reality. And they stand on business about it because something about it protects their ego, their identity, their emotional safety, even when their reality keeps disagreeing. Reality keeps showing them the contradiction where what they're saying is not true, but yet they keep holding on to their belief. They keep holding on to their story. It's like racism. Racism is delusion. This whole concept of superiority and inferiority, Delulu. But it benefits their ego. It benefits their identity to discriminate against and not be open to a different perspective. So, again, one of my primary reasons and intentions for coming down here sharing this message with y'all is that, especially for people who are just coming to grips with the fact that they are an empath, that they are sensitive, that they do have spiritual gifts and talents, and that they do have the capacity to remember their dreams and interpret their dreams and have a soft heart and a soft open heart and able to show up for people and things of that nature, that it's easy to fall into martyrdom because you are a helper and your intentions are good. But in order to protect yourself, to honor yourself, and to not be self-abandoning, you have to set your boundaries and protect your energy. You have to set a standard for yourself of integrity and of operating in honesty, and require that of other people. Require that if you're going to engage with people, that be the case. But you can't do that if you ain't done it within and for yourself. That's first and foremost. Because people gonna be like, how the hell you gonna require that of me when I see you lying to yourself daily, when I see you living a lie daily, when I see you living in the land of Delulu? It's easy for me to lie to you. It's easy for me to be honest with you when you clearly not being honest with yourself. So that is definitely a thing. And also trusting that even when you want to help people, you love them, you care about them deeply, you want to see them thrive, you want to see them grow, you want to see them abundant, you want to see them flourish, and they choose a path that is the opposite for themselves. You gotta love yourself enough and trust God enough that same clarity that you have, that same light that you have to impart to them that they refuse to see or receive, that if it's meant for them to, God will show them in other ways. You ain't their only hope. You ain't the only one that can bring the message. You ain't the only one that could be the example. You're not the only one that could possibly help them get out of the land of Delulu. So do not fall into martyrdom like you're the only one that can help them in any way, because they'll find a way. They'll figure it out. You got to protect yourself, especially in situations where you can't count on them to protect you. Some people will be committed to misunderstanding you. Again, it benefits their ego. It benefits where they are emotionally and where they don't want to shift out of that. And let them stay committed. You be committed to your growth, your elevation. You let them stay committed to what they committed to. If they committed to misunderstanding you, do not waste your time and energy arguing back and forth trying to prove no point. Know the value of what you bring to the table. Know the value of your advice. Know the value of your presence. For some people, when you see that they insist on living in the land of Delulu, you're going to have to put some distance between y'all. You're going to have to be harder to reach. And that shit hurt. It hurt. When you want to love on them, when you want to see them win, that shit hurt. But you either hurt because you honoring yourself, or you hurt because you abandon yourself. I will take option 1 for 1,000 Alex any day. And that's a lesson I've really been having to learn in this chapter of my life. It's actually been reoccurring, but it just gets deeper and deeper. Like, my understanding of it gets deeper and deeper. And the truth of the matter is, in this world, we all come face to face with illusion. We all come face to face with something that looks like it's this, and it's actually that. And it's in large part due to the propaganda, the narratives that the powers that think they are try to create for us, so that we can move according to a particular agenda, do things a certain way, fall in line to line their pockets and empower them. Meanwhile, disempowering ourselves and doing it for generations and generations. Like, it's all by design. But when you know better, you do better. And so this is the call to do better, to not decide to stay in Delulu, and to not continue to entertain those who decide to stay in Delulu, those who decide they want permanent citizenship in the land of Delulu. I think that's all of, I really didn't have to read my notes much. I think that's all of what I wanted to share. I am being led to close us out with a reading, though. So I got my little handmade cards that I've created with my index cards. And then I got my other cards that I created. I had these cards drawn up when I was working on creating my own oracle deck. I don't really even got a name for them, but I dusted them off, so I'm going to use them as well. Just real, what message would you have for me to bring to your people at this time? It's something specific to somebody watching this. So you got a lot of messages here relevant to the root chakra, and all of them. So you may want to look into your root chakra, your safety, your security, your stability, your feeling of belonging, concepts of fear. Either you or this person or the people around you who want to stay in the land of Delulu, but there's responsibility. You have the capacity to take ownership and respond in a way that says, I love and honor myself. When you find yourself faced with people who want to stay in the land of Delulu, you can take accountability for where you are in the situation and make a different decision. Make a more self-honoring, loving decision. If you're the person who has been hell-bent on living in the land of Delulu, you can take responsibility and accountability as well and make a different, more loving, self-honoring choice. Generational gifts. You have inherited gifts that are meant to benefit the community. The only way you're going to get and take back all that the locusts has stolen is by taking responsibility for how you show up in this world, taking responsibility for yourself, your gift, your talent, your energy, who you align with, how you show up in this world, so that you can make room for and vibrate on the same frequency of all of the abundance that is due to you. You have generational gifts that have been passed down to you. You ain't got time for this fuck shit, but you only gonna enjoy it and obtain it and maintain it by taking responsibility for your life and no longer allowing others to dictate the quality of your life and your decisions. At the top of the deck, you have root chakra, but it's in reverse. It's another root chakra card. All of these cards, it's only about 7 or 8 cards in this deck that I created that are root chakra cards, but all of them that have came out in this situation are pertinent to the root chakra, so that's major. And one of the things that is dysfunctional, this is saying about the root chakra, is your belief. You literally got belief. I told you, delusion is that era of belief. You're needing to believe and trust that you have the right to survive and thrive, and you will never settle for the bare minimum. When you settle for the bare minimum in any situation, that is you living in Delulu. You've bought into the belief that you can't do better, that you can't have better. At the bottom of the deck, safety, and that's in reverse as well. All these cards not in reverse, but this was. So, and it's another root chakra card. With safety, you are loved and protected. You won't feel that way if you continuing to entertain people who have decided they want to stay in the land of Delulu, or if you decide you want to stay in the land of Delulu. Living in the land of Delulu is not good for your nervous system. It keeps you on edge. It keeps you in chaos and confusion and fuck shit when you can just decide to operate in clarity and peace. You won't ever feel safe, not emotionally, not financially, not physically, because it comes with the territory and it comes with the citizenship of living in the land of Delulu. Let's see. Let's get a closing message. I really didn't intend for this message to be this long, but it is what it is. What I tell you about them comfort zones. There is no growth without discomfort. Somebody's being called to do something that feels uncomfortable. It's taking you out of your comfort zone. And for some of you, that comfort zone is the way you show up, always trying to sacrifice yourself for other people. You're not comfortable with drawing your boundaries and saying no, doing what's best for you. Telling people you don't want to hear their opinion. You don't want their advice. You want to make a decision all on your own about what's best for you. And I'm hearing the discomfort for some of you is a decision to leave something or someone. It won't be comfortable, but it is a part of your growth cycle. It's for the benefit of your growth and you feeling more safe and secure, and the regulation of your nervous system. At the top of the deck, you have attracting emotionally unavailable people is a sign of being emotionally unavailable to yourself. Always hold a mirror to yourself when you encounter those who have decided to live in the land of Delulu. What about you aligned with that person? What about you attracted that person? What about you is continuing to stay in that situation? And if you know that there's something emotionally unavailable about you, you need to take an assessment of your relationships to see where people may be using you and may be showing up with ulterior motives and they are emotionally unavailable themselves. Sometimes people know how to act like they're emotionally invested when really they have an agenda of their own. So you want to be mindful of that at the top of the at the bottom of the deck. Every day is a good day to be true to yourself. I can't make this shit up. Honor yourself, y'all. Don't let people play in your face. I hope this message found you well. If it did not find you well, I hope that it leaves you well. Should you need a personal reading, feel free to book with me by emailing me at turquoisemajesty@gmail.com if you're looking for an in-person reading, or you can book online using my Etsy store to book an online session. But until next time, y'all, peace.